evening, everybody. Welcome to Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the NCAA Regional Gymnastics Championship. We bring you inside the Maravich Center with Lori Strong-Ballard, an All-America at Georgia, a national champion at Georgia, and twice a member of the Canadian Olympic team, and Kaylee Dixon-Abood, a two-time all-around All-America at LSU. I'm Lynn Rollins. Tonight, we start separating the very best college gymnastics teams from the very good. And this nationally ranked LSU team over the last three meets certainly has been at the top of its game.
LSU's the number one seed here, and they come in here after a fantastic season, capped off by their third straight SEC team title. What an emotional and exciting night that was for them. But going forward with their season, like every team here, they need to put together another 2 days of great competition.
Kaylee, the look of postseason in 2019 is very different than before.
Absolutely. Some teams will compete 2 to 3 days in a row. Utah and Minnesota qualified to tomorrow's round, and tonight the top two teams from this evening session will go to compete tomorrow as well. Those four teams will go head-to-head, and the top two will advance to the national championship.
And the four teams in tonight's session: LSU, George Washington, Auburn, and Arizona State.
LSU begins tonight on vault, a very strong event for them, and Auburn over on balance beam can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's also nice to get it out of the way.
And George Washington, they'll start their competition on bars. You can see them in the lower right corner. They're number 36 in the country, but they come in here after a great meet at the Eagle Championships where they scored over a 49. And Arizona State, upper left corner, they'll start the day on floor. They've been a little bit up and down there, but in the last few weeks have shown some great consistency.
All four events will be going simultaneously, so we've got wall-to-wall gymnastics inside the beautiful Maravich Center on the campus of LSU. Sit back and enjoy. Two of these teams are going to advance to the field of four tomorrow.
LSU started off with Sarah Finnegan on vault, and up next will be Ruby Harold.
McKenna Kelly, Juliana Canamella, Sarah Edwards, and Kennedy Edney will follow for LSU.
Over on beam, you'll see Drew Watson just finishing up her beam routine. Beautiful stuck landing on that dismount. She's very, very happy about that.
Darian Goburn, Allie Riddle, Skylar Shepard, Abby Millier, and Meredith Sylvia will follow on beam for Auburn.
Arizona State University first up, stepping out of bounds on her first tumbling pass. Pretty solid, but the legs were crossed a little bit on her Rudy in that second tumbling pass.
Ruby Harold on vault for LSU. Beautiful Yurchenko full and a half. Perfect block off the table and a beautiful stuck landing. Over on balance beam, Darian Goburn prepares to go for her beam set.
Now floor exercise, Heather Udich, a senior for Arizona State University, finishing up with her final tumbling pass. 1.5 front pike. Well done. Step out of bounds, though, in that first tumbling pass.
Interestingly enough, LSU ranked fourth in the nation on vault this year with a national qualifying score of 49.365 and a team best of 49.675 this year.
Goburn on balance beam for Auburn had a super fantastic club career. 2018 Nastia Lukin Supergirl Cup competitor, and she's also related to baseball great Hank Aaron, so athletics is in her genes.
Simone Bannon just finishing up on bars for George Washington with a hit routine and a solid dismount.
McKenna Kelly up next on vault for LSU.
Her best is 9.925.
The Tigers are on fire with a few sticks in a row there.
All four events are competing at one time. That requires a lot of focus for these athletes.
Another solid beam set from Auburn. She put up two great scores.
This, of course, will be a highly partisan crowd in favor of LSU. More than 10,000 tickets were sold for this regional, one of 4 across the country.
It's such a great event for fans to see. You know, a regional does not come into Baton Rouge every single year, so it's really cool. So when we go on the road, they kind of know what to expect while they're watching it on TV.
It's actually been quite an amazing year for all LSU fans with the SEC championships at the Smoothie King Center right there in New Orleans, and what a huge crowd and turnout that was. Over 10,000 fans. I believe that they set a record for attendance at the SEC championships.
Juliana Canamella on vault for LSU looked like she landed a little bit short with her chest down.
One performer we will not see on vault nor on bars is Lexi Priestman. She's been troubled with a bicep tendon injury and will not compete tonight.
Fortunately, Bridget Dean will go in for her, but that's why you have depth. That's why you prepare as many girls as you can on each lineup for this specific purpose.
Arizona State, the Sun Devils finishing up on floor with a 1.5 to a front layout. Showing great energy right here in first rotation. Nicely done.
Allie Riddle on balance beam for Auburn. Another solid routine for them. Starting off on beam has not been a problem. Side aerial to a back full dismount. Nicely stuck, beautifully done. Sarah Edwards had a little bit of a problem on that landing on her Yurchenko full and a half.
Big double layout dismount. Another great routine for George Washington on bars.
George Washington had to earn its way into the field.
That was Hannah Cohen doing a fantastic job. You're right, yesterday George Washington had to compete for their position to compete again today. And if they are top 2 here, they will compete again tomorrow. That takes a lot of endurance for these athletes, especially at the end of the season.
A few days of competition in a row is definitely not easy on your body. Next up on beam for Auburn is Skylar Shepard.
Corinne Belkov, second tumbling pass. Front double full, big difficulty there. She opened with a nice double pipe.
You'll hear the crowd cheering very loud for Kennedy Edney's beautiful Yurchenko full and a half.
Tonight's atmosphere certainly will be punctuated by loud roars when the performances warrant that from the 10,000 or so here in this building, most of whom are loudly cheering for LSU.
Arizona State's Corinne Belkov preparing for her last tumbling pass. Sees a junior. Beautifully done, 1.5 to a front layout. She tied her career high, a 9.9 at the Pac-12s recently. Another great performance.
Skylar's finishing up her beam routine. Beautiful dismount with a stuck landing at the end. Very nicely done.
And we saw a big dismount for George Washington for Anna Warhol with a full twisting double layout. That's big difficulty.
Abby Millay gets ready on balance beam for Auburn. Bathing in the chalk. It's a familiar place for me back in my day.
If I recall, this was the one event you did not want to lead off on.
I did not. I always went either second or third, and that was my comfort spot. So it's what you want on beam. You want your athlete to be comfortable for sure.
But you had no problem leading off any of the other all-around events.
Nope, it was completely mental.
George Washington getting started on bars. Giant half into a Jaeger. Overshoot a little short on that handstand. Another short handstand there. Really pushing through, trying to stay strong here into the dismount. Full twisting double back, tiny hop on the landing. Julia McLaughlin, that was. She scored a 9.725 to anchor her team yesterday, which helped them secure their spot in today's competition.
You see LSU's vault score there of 49.250. That's slightly less than the national qualifying average of 49.365, which ranked 4th in the country this year.
And on floor exercise for Arizona State, this is Jessica Ginn. Nice height on that double back.
Abby Millay's got a great beam routine going so far. She led it off with a nice punch front onto the beam, back handspring layout step out for the series, and a stuck dismount for the landing.
Front layout to a front layout half on the floor for Jessica Ginn. Now, Arizona State said that they had a little bit of a disappointing meet on floor a few weeks ago against Denver, and as a team they decided that they needed to be a little bit more aggressive, especially on this event. They've applied that technique and it's kind of helped them over the last couple weeks. Jessica Ginn set a new career high this year of a 9.875 on this event. Final tumbling pass coming here on floor. It's a double pike, nice height, stays in bounds. Excellent job.
Over on balance beam for Auburn, Meredith Sylvia will be on anchor.
We have seen a lot of gymnastics in this building over the last 24 hours or so. It seems to me judging here in the regionals has been slightly tighter, slightly tougher than during the normal season.
I think that's normal when you get into the postseason, especially at a meet like this where you have 4 judges. The high and the low will be thrown out, and then they average the 2 middle scores. You have also 4 sets of eyes looking from different angles, so you can't get away with a lot of deductions that you might get away with when there are only 2 judges.
Meredith's got a beautiful beam set going so far. A cat leap into a front aerial, into a back handspring. That's a triple series. Connecting 3 skills in a row, a jump in front of that first acro skill, and then the back handspring out of it. This is very nicely done. She's very precise with every movement she's doing. Her dance is beautiful. Her toe point is very nice. The dismount, cartwheel to a gainer layout full. Very nice way to end off Auburn's beam rotation.
This is for ASU. This is Caitlin Safransky, a senior, opening with a double pike, staying aggressive, finishing with the arms and the lunge. She was actually a transfer from LSU. She's been with ASU for 2 years now. She set a career high of a 9.925 this year against Stanford, and that was the first time she actually scored over a 9.9 on any event, so an exciting moment for her as well. She also is training and competing with her younger sister, Ashley, so what an exciting time.
That's got to be really cool to have your sister on the same team as you.
We bring your attention to the graphic in the bottom right of your screen. It will be showing you updating event scores as well as individual scores when they're tallied and posted. Again, with a 9.775.
Final tumbling pass, staying aggressive here. 1.5, front layout, nicely done.
So the first rotation is over here in Baton Rouge at the NCAA Regional Gymnastics Championship. We'll have we will have another competitor, and we also are going to see some individual competitors tonight in certain events as they have the opportunity to vie for a national championship individually.
Yes, you'll notice some individuals rotating around the arena with other teams, and it's great that they qualified here as an individual, and I'm excited to see how far they get in this process.
So the top event specialist out of this competition, as well as the top all-arounder, will have an opportunity to go on and compete at the national championships.
And this is the anchor for Arizona State.
Cairo Leonard Baker, sophomore. She has scored a 9.95 twice this season, and against tough competition, Utah and then Stanford. Super talented.
Huge double tuck to open up her first pass.
She finished tied for 4th all-around at the Pac-12s. That's the highest all-around finish for an ASU athlete since 2007. She's only a sophomore, so they have a few more years with this very talented athlete. Not only great on floor, but several events. Beautiful 1.5 to a front layout full.
Kind of floated through the air on that tumbling pass.
Kylie, I watched her in warm-up, and she just went across the floor, did 3-4 punch fronts in a row with ease.
This Arizona State team, of course, has to compete in the same league with number 1 UCLA.
Taking a deep breath before her final tumbling pass. Sky high, double pike, solid landing. I think I watched her warm up about 5 of those, exactly like that. Great anchor routine for ASU.
While we wait for this routine to start, we'll tell you that Georgia and Kentucky already have qualified for action tomorrow out of the Athens Regional. So Georgia and Kentucky will be half the field tomorrow in the Athens Regional.
Giovanna East from Bowling Green. She is an all-arounder. She has 3 very strong events. Bars is a little bit of a weakness for her, so she's going to want to really amplify her scoring potential on the other 3 events, and she can really do that here on floor. She has scored a 9.975 this season. Round off 2.5 to a punch front.
It's always good to start off on an event where you're really strong, get that momentum going, and hope that it carries you throughout the meet.
Side pass, a round-off double full. Kind of adds a little bit of an interesting twist. Usually you see them only tumbling down the diagonal. Dramatic music, playing it up with great choreography.
These individual performers are here by virtue of outstanding scores during the regular season. Their teams didn't make it, but they've got the opportunity to compete for an individual national championship.
Final tumbling pass to Rudy. And she looked like she had a great time out there.
So the first rotation is over. LSU with 49.250 on vault. Auburn with 49.250 on beam. Lead after one rotation of the NCAA championships, the Baton Rouge Regional. Stay with us. Back to the NCAA championships, the Baton Rouge Regional, the second round, session 2 from the Marriage Assembly Center in Baton Rouge. We're off to a flying start. And if you saw the first session, you know that first rotation, you know that all 4 events are going simultaneously. We are showing you the action from everywhere. LSU and Auburn tied after one event. Let's look in the rearview mirror. We start with LSU vault.
LSU had a great vault rotation. Ruby Harold, huge Yurchenko 4.5, and she scored a 9.9. Beautiful landing. McKenna Kelly, 9.85 on her pike half vault. Again, another great landing. And then Kennedy Edney. Huge Yurchenko 4.5. Finished it off with a little bit of step, but she got a 9.85.
Now we head over to Auburn on beam.
Drew Watson led things off with a 9.825. A beautiful beam set, a beautiful leadoff for the Auburn Tigers. Skylar Shepard, another great beam routine. Coming up next for the Tigers, she got a 9.85. Beautiful acro series, very well done. Then the dismount with another stuck landing. Abby Millay, here's her acro series, beautiful hand lay, scored a 9.9 on this beam routine. Here's the dismount that sealed the deal. Very nicely done.
And Lori, the floor is all yours with Arizona State.
ASU had a solid performance on floor, scoring a 48.875. This is Corinne Belkov. She scored a 9.8. Final pass, 1.5 to a front layout. Big smiles there. Caitlin Zafransky, an LSU transfer, doing a great job opening with a double pike. She scored a 9.8. There's the 1.5 to a front layout. Beautiful form throughout.
So let's take a look at the LSU Tigers vault score. Sarah Edwards at 9.725 is discarded. And you see the 9.9 scored by Ruby Harold as the top score in LSU vault.
George Washington, you'll see they dropped a 9.625. And they had scores ranging in the 9.7 range. And they'll move on to balance beam next. Over on beam, the Auburn Tigers did a great job scoring a 49.25. That 9.7 from Darian Goburn was dropped.
Always good to get beam out of the way. And for Arizona State, starting on floor, a solid performance for them. They did have to count that 9.65. That kept them below that coveted 49 mark, but 5 solid hit routines to count.
So after one rotation, the Auburn Tigers and the LSU Tigers, both out of the SEC, are tied for first place in Baton Rouge. More in a moment. To the NCAA Regional Gymnastics Championship, hosted by LSU in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. There you see the scores after one rotation. We move on. Arizona State will be performing on vault, LSU on bars, George Washington on beam, and Auburn on the floor exercise. With Lori Strong-Ballard and Kaylee Dixon-Abood, I'm Lynn Rollins as we get to rotation number 2.
For LSU, they'll be on bars. They're number 4 in the country there with a high score of a 49.6. You can see them in the lower right-hand corner. This is Sammy Durante, a sophomore. She's been dealing with a thumb injury. They've had to adjust her training over the last couple of weeks, and then just a few days ago, she broke her pinky finger. So she is coming and pushing through some pain today for her team. Beautiful high Jaeger there. Pack salto down to the low bar. The assistant coach, Jay Clark, standing there just in case.
Karine Belkoff over on vault for Arizona State, led off with a nice Yurchenko layout full.
Durante in the dismount, almost a stuck landing, trying to hold on to it. Landed a little bit on the front of that mat.
Alexandra Zoyce over on beam for George Washington.
This is Emma Slappy for Auburn on the floor exercise. She scored a 9.85 twice this season, including 2 weeks ago at the SEC Championships. 9.9 is her career high on this event. A good, solid ability as a leadoff for Auburn on floor. Last pass, double tuck for Auburn. Emma Slappy for Auburn putting together a strong leadoff routine.
Another nice vault for Arizona State. Slightly had her chest down on the landing, but overall a very nice vault.
And next up for LSU on the bars, Bailey Ferrer, a freshman who joined this team late after graduating high school early. Didn't get here until a couple weeks before season started. She's been stepping in and stepping up on this event, which I would not necessarily consider her best event. Really, she's a floor and vaulter. She's been dealing with some ankle injuries, and when she can get healthy, we'll definitely see her shine there. But so far tonight, doing a solid job for LSU on bars, nailing that double layout landing.
Her best this year has been 9.9. We normally would see Priestman in the lineup on bars. She has been scratched from the meet because of a bicep problem and did not vault and will not compete on bars either.
So LSU's definitely been dealing with some late season injuries, and they're having to rely a little bit on their depth and ask a few athletes to compete on events that they wouldn't necessarily always compete on.
Hannah Cohen on beam for George Washington, doing a beautiful triple series on the balance beam. She is on fire on this event this season. She has earned at least a 9.8 and above 10 straight times in a row. So we really need to watch her on this event because it's a strong one for her.
That's remarkable.
And over on the floor for Auburn, this is Skylar Shepard, a redshirt junior. She transferred from Arizona, opening with a beautiful triple full. She's been a solid contributor this season on floor and beam.
Cairo Leonard-Baker up next for Arizona State on vault. We saw her on floor. She is extremely powerful.
And over on bars for LSU, this is Ruby Harold. One of the most original routines in collegiate gymnastics, finishing with the double front, takes a small step on the landing.
LSU's team high in bars this year, 49.60. Its national qualifying score, fourth in the land at 49.460. And bars especially was an event last season that LSU made great strides, had a fantastic performance all year long on bars.
They have just gotten better and better on bars, and part of that is Jay Clark and his great coaching, his great recruiting, and the ability to really put bar teams together that these athletes can perform clean and under pressure.
Olivia Zona up next on balance beam for George Washington.
Skylar Shepard finishing up for Auburn on floor.
Lori, you just spoke of Jay Clark. We see him in the right corner, walking away from the next competitor after a word of advice.
Kennedy Edney is trying to stay relaxed as she prepares to go up next on bars. She put in a huge performance at the SEC, scoring a 9.9 on this event.
9.925 has been her best score of the season.
She's known for her big gymnastics, and she also has really good air awareness. You see that when she sticks many or most of her landings, and she just knows exactly where she is in her gymnastics.
Morgan Wilson on vault for ASU. Beautiful Yurchenko layout full. Stuck the landing. That should put up a very nice score.
Kennedy Edney with a sky-high Hindorf, maybe a flexed foot in there, overshoot to handstand. One of the highlights of Kennedy's routine is her dismount. It's big, and it's almost perfectly straight in body position. Double layout right there. Very little arch, no pike. It is just straight, 2 flips, only a tiny hop on the landing.
Olivia Zona prepping for her dismount. Round off full and a half. A little bit of wobbles here and there throughout that beam routine, but she made it work and got the job done.
On the floor for Auburn, this is Drew Watson, a sophomore. She had a great freshman year last year, but has stepped up really big time for them this season, opening with an E, very difficult double Arabian with a blind landing. She's been competing in the all-around, all 4 events for them throughout the season.
Jasmine Gutierrez up next for Arizona State over on vault.
Sky-high double tuck for Drew Watson's second tumbling pass. She struggled here at the SEC Championships, so looking to put together a better performance today for her team. Over on the bars for LSU, this is Bridget Dean stepping into the lineup to replace Lexi Priestman, who's out with a bicep injury.
Priestman has won 13 titles on bars in her career, but not available tonight.
So that is a big loss for them, but Bridget Dean putting together a solid performance.
Simone Bannon up on beam for George Washington.
Hit routine for Drew Watson for Auburn.
Laura, you were talking about Bridget Dean on bars. It only became known to her that she was going to compete tonight literally just minutes before the event started.
These athletes, they're always training, so she has been prepared. She's probably been in many of the inter-squad events in the gym, so you always have to be ready to step up and step in for your team.
There's a lot of real-time, real-life competition in practice, is there not? That everything is simulated as best you can for the environment, the surprises that might come in a meet.
Absolutely. There are always inter-squads where the coaches, I know LSU likes to see who they have, so they'll put them in a pressure situation to be sure that they'll perform the way that they would like them to perform at an actual competition.
Many teams use those inter-squads in training to actually determine who will be that week's lineup. Of course, they will take into consideration how they've been competing and scoring. On bars right now, this is the amazing Sarah Finnegan, the SEC all-around champion and gymnast of the year for the second straight year. She's been dealing with flu-like symptoms all week, so it's amazing that she's out there doing a great routine so far for the Tigers on bars. Only a tiny hop on the landing, absolutely outstanding.
25 times in her career, she has won a bars title.
Darian Goburn on floor for Auburn, getting some big-time height on that opening double back in the open position.
Olivia Raymond getting ready to go on balance beam for George Washington, getting some last words of advice from coach.
Auburn's Darian Goburn, her high score on this event is a 9.95. She scored a 9.9 at the SEC Championships. She's an apparel design major, so you can definitely see that artistic flair out there in her choreography, in her look. So LSU has completed their bar rotation. This is Catherine Duran from Bridgeport. She's a bar specialist. from Oakville, Ontario.
Finnegan scored a 9.9 on that last bar routine. She has had a 10 this year on bars.
And a gorgeous Jaeger there from Duran. She's 5'6" tall, so that makes this routine even more impressive. Those long lines. Giant full into a double tuck, a little bit of a cowboy position in the air, but nails the landing very clean and impressive.
Raymond has a solid beam set going so far. She had a beautiful back handspring layout step-out series. Now the dismount. Oh, nope, thought she was going for a side aerial. Layout full, just a plain side aerial there. Side aerial to a back layout full. Overall, a very nice beam set. Little wobble here and there, but overall, not bad.
LSU has won 18 regional titles in its history, 12 in the NCAA and 6 in the AIAW competition of years ago. Currently, LSU is on a streak of 6 straight NCAA regional titles, dating to 2013.
Abby Millay getting ready to go on the floor. You saw Ashley Johnson, formerly Ashley Priestman, who was an Alabama gymnast, a fantastic Alabama gymnast who's now an assistant coach at Auburn.
And Brooke Bray over on beam for George Washington getting ready to go.
Front layout into a Rudy connection. The athletes on floor are required to do a tumbling pass that has 2 saltos in it, so that meets that requirement right there in the first tumbling pass. 9.85 at the SEC Championships. Abby Millay is a senior. Second tumbling pass here. Really good high set into that double pike. Very patient on that takeoff. Final tumbling pass. 1.5 to a front layout. Super clean.
Brooke has a nice beam set going so far. Standing layout step out, very nice. Full turn, that is a required element on the balance beam to have a turning element on one foot. Acro series, standing back handspring layout step out, another required element. Leap and jump connection. And gainer pike off the end of the beam to cap things off on balance beam for George Washington. Overall, a nice beam set for them.
Samantha Serio for Auburn getting ready, going through some last-minute visual cues before her floor routine. She's the anchor for Auburn. Had a solid lineup so far.
Both LSU and Auburn were tied after one rotation. We'll see if anybody can separate a bit.
Samantha Serio, a senior. 9.875 at SEC's just 2 weeks ago on this event.
An aerospace engineering major.
Such an impressive young lady.
Let's see how high she flies right here.
Yep. Ooh!
And I think she may be hurt. It looked like that ankle came down very awkwardly, and she is obviously in some pain.
tough landing on a blind skill, a double front. You cannot see the landing. So disappointing.
Well, the coaches are quickly calling for the medical staff. It looked like that ankle may have buckled.
I believe it looked like it could have been a knee. That's what I would be most
concerned with. And I think they are working on that right knee right now.
Those blind landings, whenever you land like that, it is a little dangerous. You want to be sure you're bending your knee, but no matter how many times you do it in practice, these things just happen.
Well, they're flexing the left knee, but obviously she is in great discomfort, and we will take all the time we need to render assistance. And all of a sudden, this crowd of 10,000 plus, very hushed, very respectful.
You hate to see gymnasts injured like this after so much hard work, and you just feel for them, not to mention the pain, but emotionally as well. It's very, very tough for the individual and her teammates.
Her teammates are very concerned on the sidelines, but also trying to stay relaxed and hope for the best and try to keep themselves mentally in this competition as they watch one of their teammates, their senior leaders, in so much pain, having some difficulty.
The paramedics who are here have been summoned. She will be put on a cart, and those legs will be stabilized as much as possible. This is a very partisan crowd, of course, on behalf of LSU, but right now there is one purpose, and that's the concern of this Auburn competitor who came up short on that pass, and one, if not both legs, seemed to buckle.
It was a double front. Like we said, it was a blind landing, so you almost have to just feel it or anticipate it, and I think she got there earlier than her body was ready, and she hyperextended her knees.
Auburn is a team that ranked 20th this year on floor exercise, 4th in the region, with a national qualifying score of 49.225. So a lot of attention being paid to Serio.
We mentioned what an impressive young lady she was, an aerospace engineering major. She already has a job set up upon graduation, working in Seattle for Boeing.
Serio competes on bars and floor for Auburn. She's been a mainstay on those two events all season long.
And things going through her head, not only is she in a great deal of pain and obviously upset, but her gymnastics career from this point on is over, and so I'm sure that that's a thought as well, and that is very hard to grasp as an athlete, all these years of hard work and dedication. So I definitely feel for her and wish her the best.
So the medical attention continues, and this appears to be a very serious leg injury.
See a lot of LSU doctors out there, a lot of LSU trainers. This staff that they have here is a great medical staff, and they're doing a great job with LSU athletes, and I know they'll do the same for this Auburn young lady.
If you've just joined us, Samantha Serio was on her first pass. And upon landing, one if not both legs appeared to buckle. She fell backward, obviously in great discomfort immediately. And the medical staff responded in a matter of a second or two. And we've been in this scenario for a while as they try to stabilize those legs. This senior, Samantha Serio, getting all the attention that she possibly can. They will be hoisting her onto the gurney. This crowd will erupt with an ovation of applause, of appreciation and respect. But a very difficult way to end your season campaign as a senior.
Auburn staying in their zone. I see them in a little huddle, little group chat. That's going to be the most important thing, is the morale of this Auburn team. They are in this competition. They can advance till tomorrow, and they can advance to the national championship. So they've got to stay in their zone. Of course, they feel for their teammate, but they've got to finish the competition strong.
And that's exactly what Samantha would want from them, to go out there and to compete hard for her. I'm sure of it.
Auburn and LSU were tied after the first rotation. We can tell you that Georgia and Kentucky have advanced into the finals tomorrow in the Athens Regional. Denver and Boise State have done so in the Corvallis Regional. Alabama and Michigan have moved on in the Ann Arbor Regional. Utah and Minnesota will form half the field tomorrow here in Baton Rouge. This crowd of 10,000 rising en masse in respect to this young lady from Auburn.
Very sad for her and wishing her the best.
Auburn teammates looking on at the fallen senior. So Samantha Serio will leave this building in a fashion she never envisioned.
Ladies and gentlemen, our best well wishes to AUBURN'S.
Both of those legs have been put in a temporary cast, and that's an indication that there is certainly, at least in preliminary investigation, a serious injury. So our best wishes to Samantha Serio from Auburn. And meanwhile, Gabriella Douglas will perform as an individual from Michigan State.
It's got to be tough for her to go after that, not only emotionally, but just standing around, getting a little bit cold. I saw her jumping on the floor, just trying to get her blood flowing again and get warm.
An injury like that can just suck the life out of the rest of the team. We'll see what Auburn does. Obviously extraordinarily concerned for their fallen senior teammate.
Gabriella Douglas, a junior from Michigan State. Opening with a huge, powerful double pike. Michigan State has 3 individuals who've qualified to these regionals. Front layout, front full, off on her timing on the rebound out of the front layout. She almost absorbed that power. In a very tough position, competing after a major injury like we just saw. She had to sit and wait, got a little bit cold.
By the way, the injured senior Samantha Serio just recently named the SEC Co-Scholar Athlete of the Year for gymnastics last week with a very high GPA in aerospace engineering.
Last
and an
pass for
SEC
Douglas.
academic honor roll.
Strong double back. Difficulty with the middle tumbling pass, but you can see the ability she has. Very powerful athlete.
The scores you see are up to date. LSU with the lead as we continue at the midway point of the NCAA Championships, the Baton Rouge Regional on the SEC ESPN network. Have been completed. 2 more to go at the NCAA Gymnastics Regional in Baton Rouge. LSU with the lead at 98.575. Auburn in second place at 98.375. Then comes Arizona State and George Washington. With Lori Strong-Ballard and Kaylee Dixon-Abood, I'm Lynn Rollins. Let's look at what we just saw. We're going to see Arizona State on vault, LSU on bars, George Washington on beam, and Auburn on floor. Let's start with Arizona State.
Arizona State had a solid vault rotation, 49.025 for the total team score. And there's a beautiful Yurchenko layout full, 9.825 from Cairo Leonard Baker. Beautifully done. And next up, Morgan Wilson. Beautiful Yurchenko layout full, perfectly stuck, 9.875. Here it is again. Beautiful.
LSU on the bars, scoring a 49.325, a strong score for them, helped out by 2.99s from Kennedy Edney and Sarah Finnegan. Here's Edney doing her Hindorf sky high in the air. Overshoot down to the low bar. And of course, her signature straight body, double layout dismount. Well done. Sarah Finnegan, she's the SEC bar champion. There with her Ray. Big E level release skill. Toe hand down to the low bar to her overshoot connection. And the dismount. Strong Giants into a double layout. Almost a stuck landing. 2 solid performances there for 2.99s.
Over on balance beam, Hannah Cohen, one of the top beam workers for George Washington with a beautiful triple series, scoring a 9.8 on this beam routine. Beautiful dismount to cap things off.
Auburn on floor scoring a 49.125, a solid performance in their first 5 competitors. Skylar Shepard here with a 9.875, opening with that big triple full. Here's the 1.5 to a front layout. Darian Goburn doing what she does best, showing off power and a little bit of sass. Almost stepping out of bounds there. You can see her heel was on the line, but no deduction taken. Front full to a front layout. 9.85 for Darian Goburn.
So here are the Arizona State Sun Devils vault scores. Gutierrez at the bottom was cast aside. You see the other scores with a 9.875 the high. LSU on bars. Sarah Finnegan leading the way with a 9.9 along with Kennedy Edney. George Washington on beam. Very nice routine for George Washington. 9.8 the best score there. Done a couple of times. And the Auburn Tigers floor score, you see, of course, it ended with Samantha Serio's very serious injury. Her score is cast aside, and we will move on with LSU holding the lead as we go to the third rotation at the NCAA Baton Rouge Gymnastics Regional. Drama, the championship action at the NCAA Gymnastics Regional in Baton Rouge. After 2 rotations, you see updated scores. We move on. It'll be Auburn on vault, Arizona State on bars, LSU on beam, and George Washington on floor exercise.
See Christina Desiderio getting ready to go on balance beam for the Tigers. And over on vault, a Miracle Phillips will be first up for the Auburn Tigers.
Don't you love that first name? A Miracle Phillips. A-M-I-R-A-C-A-L. A Miracle Phillips.
Arizona State on bars. They recently put up their high score of the year at Pac-12. That's a confidence builder. This is Morgan Wilson, solid contributor for them and a senior.
Christina Desiderio does a great job leading off this beam team. She led off SEC championships with a 9.9. Slight wobble on that series.
That was her best score ever, was it not? That 9.9 on beam?
Yes, her high is a 9.9.
LSU's team high, 49.650 on beam, and a 49.460 national qualifying score, which was 4th in the country.
Rachel Kaplan from George Washington on floor.
Taylor Krippner getting ready to go for the Auburn Tigers over on vault. Taylor got a 9.775 at the SEC Championships.
Caitlin Safransky getting some last-minute details from her coach before she mounts the bar. She scored a 9.75 at Pac-12s on this event. Caitlin mounting bars. Get past a handstand.
It's a beautiful Yurchenko layout full from Taylor Krippner. That should put up a very nice score.
A little bit crooked on her overshoot to handstand for Caitlin on bars. She's kind of all over these bars. Trying to adjust her position because of the giant full. Sometimes those travel to the side. So she starts it over on the other side. Those will be small deductions into her double tuck dismount, but a hit for ASU. Second out.
Bridget Dean is up on beam for LSU. 9.875 is her high on this event. And over on vault up next, we will have Gracie Day. It's a beautiful series from Bridget Dean. I love that side aerial back handspring step out for an acro series. It's so different. You don't see it very often.
Beautiful opening pass for Sydney Krasa from George Washington. Front through to a double pike.
Gracie Day on vault. A huge Yurchenko full and a half. Looked like she might have hopped a little bit on that landing, but very nice. Had a lot of good distance and power. Bridget Dean capped things off with a very nice dismount for LSU. Darian Goburn will be up next on vault for the Auburn Tigers.
And for ASU on bars, this is Morgan Hart, giant half. into a sky-high Jaeger, immediate shoot over, well done.
Darian got all SEC honors on both vault and floor, and she was named to the all-freshman team. So she's got a lot to say for just beginning her collegiate career with gymnastics. Scored a 9.9 on her full and a half at the SEC championships. So I'm excited to see what kind of vault Darian does for us tonight. Sammy Durante about to mount the beam for LSU. A beautiful Yurchenko full and a half from Darian Goburn.
Durante's best score on beam this year has been 9.9. Sarah Finnegan will anchor this event for the Tigers. She has won 25 beam titles in her illustrious career.
Sammy sets up for her acro series. Beautiful back handspring layout step out. Beautiful extension, height, and form.
Over on bars for Arizona State, this is Ashley Savransky, the younger sister of Caitlin, who we mentioned was an LSU transfer. Beautiful look on this event. Nice toe point, little leg separation. Back down to the low bar with a pack salto. Toe hand half, toe circle.
Beautiful routine from Sammy Durante. Here's Drew Watson over on vault for the Auburn Tigers.
And a fantastic bar routine there for ASU. Ashley Savransky sticking her double layout dismount.
Up next on beam for the LSU Tigers, Kennedy Edney. 9.925 is her high on this event, and she's capable of that every time she sets foot on this equipment because of her power. Her acro skills are sky high, and on balance beam, that's something that's very impressive.
And in the top left corner, Simone Bannon competing for George Washington. Remember, they had to compete yesterday, all 4 events. So a lot of energy and emotion was exerted. So they are still looking very strong today. And yesterday, floor was fantastic for them. 6 scores over a 9.8. Little low in the chest on that last double back.
You know, Lori, the George Washington coach has a connection with this building, doesn't she?
Well, she was a gymnast actually at Penn State, a 5-time All-American there, Margie Foster Cunningham. And back in the days when the championships were AIAW in 1980, she actually won it here at the PMAC.
Edney, acro series, back handspring layout, step out on balance beam, beautiful.
And ASU pushing through another solid bar routine.
Stephanie Schweikert over on vault for Ball State University. She is one of the individual competitors that will be competing this evening. Just the dismount left for Kennedy. A beautiful beam set. Very nicely done.
Katya Karpova for George Washington, about to begin a routine on floor. Double pike holds on to that position just a little long, almost over rotates it, but fights for the landing. That's important.
Reagan Campbell gets ready to go for the LSU Tigers on balance beam. She is an amazing beam worker. She's a regular season All-American on this event, ranked 15 in the NCAA on balance beam, and she has almost scored a 10. A 9.975 is her high.
Cairo Leonard Baker. Nice job on a piked toe shoot up to the high bar. For ASU on the bars. Into the dismount, sky high, full twisting double back. That was beautiful. Katya Karpova finishing up her routine on floor with a whip to a 1.5.
Reagan
Nice
Campbell
flexibility.
keeping things very, very nice and smooth on balance beam, moving from one skill to the next, keeping that tempo going, which is also something that judges are going to be looking for.
She's got great elegance, doesn't she?
She really does. It's very beautiful to watch her on balance beam. Dismount left for Reagan Campbell. Nicely done. She fought to get that stick. Very nice beam rotation so far for the LSU Tigers.
LSU finished 4th in the nation a year ago and was runner-up in the 2 previous seasons.
Giovanna East from Bowling Green preparing for bars. I mentioned earlier that this was actually one of her weakest events, so she needed to keep her scores up high on the other events and, of course, try to get a solid performance here. Excellent job on a sky-high Tkachev. Looking for a consistent hit routine here. A little leg separation, but nice height on that toe shoot.
We're going to see Sarah Finnegan on beam, and to show you how good she is in the all-around, she is only the 9th LSU gymnast in history to score a 9.95 or higher on vault, bars, beam, and floor in her career. That's remarkable. And she's at a 10 on beam this year.
She's really just a beautiful gymnast to watch. Very consistent on all 4 events.
Alexander Zois from George Washington on floor. Almost a little bit too much power in that opening tumbling pass, a double pike. Big height on her 2.5 twist, though.
Sarah Finnegan, as you can imagine, is a regular season All-American on this event. Every time she sets foot, it's just a beautiful, clean beam routine.
Sarah Finnegan has been troubled over the last 48 hours with flu-like conditions, and there was some talk that she might not be able to make the meet tonight. But she has certainly rallied, and I suspect the thrill of competition has got that adrenaline level high.
Absolutely. I'm sure she's feeling not 100%, but maybe a little bit better, getting moving, getting her body going, and this is second nature to her. She's done so many repetitions of each of these events that she just got to go in autopilot at this point.
Alexander Zois for George Washington finishing up a big-time routine for them on the floor exercise. She scored a 9.875 yesterday on this event.
Very beautiful beam routine from Sarah Finnegan. Not feeling well, not 100%, but you would never know.
25 times in her career, she has won a beam title. We are in rotation number 3 at the Gymnastics Regional Championship in Baton Rouge.
Final competitor for George Washington on the floor, Olivia Raymond. She tied her season high to help solidify her team's regional future with a 9.8 yesterday.
floor and vault are probably the two most difficult events to do the second day. Your ankles, your back might be a little sore, your knees. So they make it look easy, but I'm sure they're a little achy this morning.
I'm liking this choreography, very powerful music. A little bit shy on full split on that full twisting split jump. Talked about competing 2 days straight. This is a good warm-up for these athletes, at least the teams that do qualify to national championships, where they will have a qualification day, and then the final day will be the final four on the floor, so they have to be solid 2 days in a row. Last pass, 1.5 front layout, small leg separation at the end of the 1.5. So dramatic. I enjoyed that routine.
So you see up-to-date scores there as LSU with a 147.90 has the lead. Auburn still in second place. Arizona State in third, and George Washington is in fourth. Let's take a timeout. We'll be right back. The fourth and final rotation from Baton Rouge. Next on the SEC ESPN Network. Have been completed here in Baton Rouge. You see up to the moment scores. LSU and Auburn are in first and second place respectively, followed by Arizona State and George Washington. Remember, the top two tonight will join Utah and Minnesota tomorrow at 7 o'clock in the regional final. Welcome back, everyone. The Lori Strong Ballard and Kaylee Dixon Abood. I'm Lynn Rollins. Let's look in the rearview mirror at what we just saw. Auburn first on bars, and then Arizona State and LSU.
Auburn on vault, they had a great vault rotation, 49.350. Darian Goburn, beautiful job, 9.95. Sky high, difficulty, small hop on the landing, but very, very good. And then Drew Watson, another fantastic Yurchenko full and a half, scoring a 9.9 for the Auburn Tigers. Very well done.
And ASU looked confident and strong on bars, scoring a 49.025. The younger Zafransky sister, Ashley, here scoring a 9.8. Nice, beautiful long lines and gorgeous toe point into her double layout dismount, and absolutely nails it. Cairo Leonard Baker, this was a massive score, a 9.925. Gorgeous from start to finish. I love that pike toe shoot, very original. And of course the dismount. Look at the air time she gets, well above the bar. Plenty of time to open and find the stuck landing. Super impressive.
Great beam rotation for LSU. You see Reagan Campbell. She did an amazing job on this beam set. 9.875. Beautifully done. Here's that dismount that capped things off. Round off double full and fought for that stick. And then Kennedy Edney, flying high on each of her acro skills, did a fantastic job and then sealed the deal with that beautiful round off full and a half dismount. And then last but not least, Sarah Finnegan, not feeling 100%, but did an amazing job. You would never even know she was not feeling herself. Look at her back row series. I mean, backhand spring layout step out, beautiful, spot on, 9.925, and then that dismount. Beautiful, very, very nice.
So we take a look at all of the Auburn Tiger vault scores, led by the 9.875, and then Arizona State on bars. A 9.925 turned in by the anchor. LSU on beam. Sarah Finnegan, 9.925, the highest score there. And George Washington on floor, paced by Krasa at 9.8. We'll be back with the final rotation to decide who will join Utah and Minnesota in the finals tomorrow. To the fourth rotation, George Washington on vault, Auburn on bars, Arizona State on beam, LSU on floor, as we come to the concluding event of this Baton Rouge Regional.
Morgan Wilson will be up first for Arizona State on the balance beam, and Sydney Krasa on vault for George Washington.
This is Ruby Harold leading off for LSU on the floor, and Katie Becker on the bars. A little lineup change over there for Auburn since Sam Serio is out with that injury. They had to replace her. Katie Becker will lead off for them.
Sydney Krasa led off with a nice Yurchenko layout full. Very clean, very well done.
LSU's ranked number 4 in the country on floor. Their high scores of 49.675. This was the event they finished on at the SEC Championships to solidify that team title. Ruby Harold did a great job leading them off there as well with a 9.875.
Her best this year has been 9.9. And that number 4 national qualifying score you spoke about is 49.515.
Morgan Wilson has a great beam set going so far. And her layout full off the side of the beam and stuck the landing. Very nice lead off for ASU.
Another strong lead-off performance for Ruby Harold for LSU. And LSU has a little bit of a lineup change on floor. Christina Desiderio, who has an ankle injury, will be out. She's been competing for them. Sarah Edwards will compete today in the 3rd spot.
And Lori, this is an event that features 3 gymnasts who have scored a perfect 10 this year for LSU. And Kennedy Edney, Sarah Finnegan, and McKenna Kelly all have been perfect at one time or another on floor.
That is an impressive 1-2-3 punch at the end of their floor lineup for sure.
Jasmine Gutierrez will be up next on beam for Arizona State.
Don't forget, tomorrow's action from the Maravich Center will take place at 7 o'clock Central Time tomorrow evening. We'll have it for you right here on the SEC ESPN Network. Utah is in. Minnesota is in. We'll find out the final 2 for the field tomorrow after this event.
Reagan Campbell for LSU on floor. She's been in and out of the floor lineup. Stepping up big time for her team today. Double back, nails it.
Jasmine's got an impressive beam set going so far.
Over
Back
on the bars.
full to a swing down.
And on the bars for Auburn, Taylor Kipner. Shaposh back down to the low bar, directly connected to her overshoot. Auburn actually started SECs on bars, and they were a little bit lower in scores than they're used to. They said that they were a little bit tight in that first rotation and wanted to make sure that they came out strong on bars this week. Final pass for Reagan Campbell. 1.5 to a front layout.
That wasn't the beam set that Jasmine Gutierrez necessarily wanted. There were some big wobbles here and there, but she really fought to stay on the beam.
By the way, Utah was the leading scorer this afternoon at 196.8. Minnesota was next at 196.3.
George Washington has a nice vault rotation going so far.
And the field is set in Athens for tomorrow. Georgia, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and California will be vying for 2 positions in the national championship.
Some very intense and exciting gymnastics going on throughout the country.
Well, the Ann Arbor Regional is set as well. The finals tomorrow, Alabama, Michigan, UCLA, and Nebraska.
Darian Goburn going for Auburn on bars. One of their sensational freshman gymnasts named SEC All-Freshman. Huge Tkachev. Pirouette to a toe circle. She's their leading all-arounder this year.
This young lady has a tremendously bright future ahead of her.
Full twisting double back. Tried to stick that landing. There'll be a small deduction there, but a great routine. An opening with a front double full on the floor. This is Sarah Edwards for LSU.
Olivia Zona up next for George Washington over on vault. Like she missed her steps a little bit, but notice she stopped before the hand mat. If you don't touch the hand mat or the board or the vault, you can do it again, but just one more time. If she misses it again, then she just has to salute and take a 0.
Big smiles for Sarah Edward on the floor. Her second tumbling pass was outstanding. She knew exactly where it was, opened up for the landing, having a little fun with the dance now. Oh, beautiful front full to a front layout. That's how it's done. The front layout rising above the first skill. That's what the judges are looking for. Absolutely an outstanding routine for Sarah Edwards, stepping up big time for her LSU Tigers today.
Heather Udowich for ASU has a beautiful beam set so far. Beautiful lines, very nice dance.
Abby Millay saluting on bars for Auburn. Very tight competition between LSU and Auburn. LSU's getting it done on floor here. Auburn's doing a fantastic job so far. Beautiful pack salto down to the low bar. Giant full finishing on top directly into a double tuck dismount. Nails the landing. Some exciting competition going on here.
Well, let's get you quickly caught up on the Corvallis Regional. Denver and Boise State have advanced to tomorrow's competition. The other two teams will come from Florida, Oregon State, Stanford, or Iowa.
Over on balance beam, Ashley Safransky gets ready to go up next for Arizona State.
And this is Kennedy Edney for LSU. The first of that 1-2-3 punch that LSU has on the floor. She scored a perfect 10 on senior night here at the PMAC. She's only a junior, so we were quite surprised that she came forward with such an impressive performance. Double Arabian, big height, making sure she keeps her legs bent on the landing.
Anna Warhol will cap things off on vault for George Washington tonight.
Gorgeous 1.5 front layout, legs glued together for Kennedy Edney on floor.
You know, you talked about those 10s. Kennedy Edney, Sarah Finnegan, McKenna Kelly, and Lexi Priestman are the only competitors in the SEC to have scored a 10 this year, and all of them, of course, from LSU.
That is super impressive considering the talent that the SEC boasts. Over on bars for Auburn, this is Gracie Day. Double Arabian, steps back on the landing. That's a blind one. And Kennedy Edney sticking her double back. LSU crowd loving this competition and watching their Tigers once again. The seniors on this team getting one last chance to compete here at the PMAC Center. Usually you say goodbye on your senior night, but because they're hosting regionals, they get one more opportunity to compete here. So we'll see senior Sarah Finnegan and McKenna Kelly coming up next for LSU.
Arizona State having a solid beam rotation so far. The last 4 in this lineup have proven to be very solid, especially under pressure. Pac-12s. The last four had to step up after a fall so that they did not have to count that score. So just shows what the last part of this lineup can really do.
The crowd is booing Kennedy Edney's score, feeling it was a little bit low. There were some landing errors.
Well, there actually were 2/10 from the highest score to the lowest score in that among the four judges.
And they're watching Auburn over there on the bars. They've put up two scores of 9.9 from Millay and Kipner.
Coming into this final event, it was LSU and Auburn 1-2. Here's a young lady on floor who has scored perfection this year, McKenna Kelly.
Competing for the final time here at the PMAC in front of the home crowd. Gorgeous, huge double layout. Keep in mind, she missed all last season after tearing her Achilles tendon, and she has come back so strong this year.
And I'm looking for mom, Mary Lou Retton, to see what kind of smile she's got on her face here.
8 times she scored over a 9.9, including a 10 this season.
Tyro Leonard Baker on balance beam for Arizona State. Scored a 9.85 at Pac-12 championships.
Last pass for Kelly. Legs are glued together, finessing that beautiful landing on her double back. Yep.
That routine brings this crowd of 10,000 and more to its feet.
LSU needs big performances like that right now. Auburn went 49-3-5 on bars. The pressure's on. McKenna Kelly getting the stick crown.
Give this Auburn team a great deal of credit. It has had to rally behind a patchwork lineup when Samantha Serio went down with a very serious leg injury, it appeared, on the floor exercise. And competition was stopped for 15 minutes perhaps as she was being helped. And this Auburn team has responded with a gutsy performance.
Huge credit to Auburn. They could have mentally had a meltdown, but they held together as a team and put together some great performances, probably thinking of Samantha Serio the entire time.
Now, Sarah Finnegan was supposed to anchor the floor exercise. She's won 37 floor titles, but apparently she is being scratched here. LSU feels as though what it has accomplished on floor is going to be good enough to advance to tomorrow's round of 4 in the finals. So Sarah Finnegan will apparently not compete. She has been fighting the flu for the last 48 hours. They were holding her back. If they needed her score, she was going to compete. Apparently, LSU is comfortable with where it stands right now to advance, and Sarah Finnegan will not anchor the floor exercise. Have you guys seen anything like that before?
A few times, yes, if a coach wants to save an athlete at either an entire competition or just in lineups here and there, because they've got to show up tomorrow and compete to get to where they really want to go.
There's no need to risk an injury or possibly fatiguing her further today so that she's not perhaps at her best tomorrow. So probably a smart decision, and a decision that LSU was aware of coming into this competition. They were going to look at the scores come this final rotation and see whether or not they needed her to compete to be able to advance or possibly win this meet.
One thing she won't have a chance to do, Sarah Finnegan, is win an all-around title for the 22nd time in her career. That's 4th best in LSU history, behind Reagan Corville, April Burkholder, and Ashley Claire Kearney.
But that's absolutely okay, because the number one priority right now for these teams wanting to advance to the national championships is the team. They have to stay healthy. It's not just about this competition. They have to be healthy in 2 weeks for the national championships as well if they are going on.
This is Justine Callis on beam for ASU, and she got a 9.825 at the Pac-12 championships. She had a beautiful triple series. career high on this event is a 9.925, and I can see why. She's got difficulty, and her form is beautiful. Very, very nice beam set, and capped it off with a beautiful aerial to back layout full.
So Arizona State on beam is done. We are waiting for updated scores, and it does appear as though LSU will advance with a 197.20. Auburn also will advance with a 197.075. And you know, you really can't say enough about this Auburn team after it suffered that injury on the floor exercise. It pushed LSU tonight, but the Tigers of LSU and the Tigers of Auburn advance out of the Southeastern Conference and will join Utah and Minnesota tomorrow. 2 of those 4 teams will move on to the national championship.
And Auburn has had a fantastic year this season, beating several top-ranked teams along the way. So it was great to see them pull it together after that injury and tough out this competition and move forward to tomorrow's competition. And LSU had a smart competition today. A few injuries, some sicknesses. They changed the lineups around. Several athletes stepped up big time for them.
I think both
well, let's
teams.
take a look at 2 LSU competitors on floor and 2 Auburn competitors on bars as we close out this meet tonight. LSU and Auburn have advanced. LSU will be looking for yet another regional championship. It's won every one they've participated in since 2013. And tonight, before 10,000 plus in the Maravich Center, LSU turns in a first-place finish. Auburn hot on the heels of the LSU Tigers, but finishing in second place. So the 2 SEC teams will be advancing to tomorrow's finals, along with Utah with a 196.8 and Minnesota with a 196.3 in the earlier session today. Auburn first on bars as we look in the rearview mirror.
Auburn fighting to the end in this competition, scoring a 49.35 on bars. Gorgeous execution here all the way to the end of the routine. Giant full, pops it up into a double tuck and nails the landing. Taylor Krippner here. Shapash back down to the low bar, bail to handstand, staying tight, staying aggressive. Into the dismount, big score here, full in, back out for the dismount for 9-9. McKenna Kelly on the floor exercise, opening with that huge E-level double layout. 9.925 was the score on this routine. Excellent finish, legs glued together to the very end on that double tuck. And Sarah Edwards stepping up for her team today, into the lineup, opening with a front double full and scoring a 9.85. Middle pass, front full to a front layout. I believe that was her final pass, finishing up strong for the Tigers.
So 5 SEC teams have qualified for the finals tomorrow, in addition to LSU and Auburn. Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky have punched a ticket into tomorrow's action. Florida is pending, and that could put 6 out of the SEC. So the best conference in gymnastics certainly doing well at this point early in the national championship chase. What are your impressions of tonight?
I think tonight Auburn and LSU did what they had to do in order to advance to tomorrow. So they've got to go home, they've got to eat well, get some rest, ice, heat, do what they have to do to get their bodies ready for tomorrow so that they can advance to the national championships.
Both these teams had a lot of obstacles to overcome today with the injury for Auburn. They had to mentally regather themselves and stay in the game to the end. And for LSU, they've had multiple sicknesses, injuries, lineup changes. Athletes stepped up big time for them. So a solid competition for some very tough athletes.
Well, this crowd will be back tomorrow. We hope you will too. We'll be on the air at 7 o'clock with the finals of this Baton Rouge Regional. For Lori Strong-Ballard and Kaylee Dixon-Abood, I'm Lynn Rollins. Please join us one more time tomorrow. We'll find out who goes to the national championship from the Baton Rouge Regional. This has been a presentation of ESPN.